had a job at that time, so they just told me, look, we don't want you to work with us anymore. That's when I realized that life can really hit you hard. And then I come back home to the council house we stay in, seeing my mum, not have that stability in life. Me and my mum were like homeless.
It's just you and your mom. Your first instinct was to go get a job. You're realizing that getting a job doesn't give you full security. In terms of how much that property is currently making you, what does that look like every single month?
From 3,000 to a little bit over.
How much were you earning working as a waitress?
About like 1,000 to £200. I wouldn't be making that much money. Even though I have my first property, it has allowed me to not work full time anymore.
All right, guys, we are here with Rose. She is 22 years old and she is making £3,000 every single month from her Airbnb. In this video, we are going to be finding out exactly how she's managed to do that and how you can do it too. So, Rose, do you want to introduce yourself to everyone, who you are, and what you were doing before you joined the program?
So I was working as a waitress in hospitality. I've been doing that for, I would say, 6 years of my life, just grinding away, not having any freedom or time to myself, just working hard pretty much like full time, in a very toxic environment. I've never been treated, nice at work. I've always wanted to get out of that environment.
What does that actually mean when you say toxic?
A lot of power tripping, all the managers or even the people you work with, they don't include you or they just treat you not the nicest. It just makes you feel really trapped. Like, when am I gonna get out of this, really toxic environment and work for myself? And then I come back home to the council house we stay in, seeing my mum, not have that stability in life, just seeing her worry all the time because we don't have that freedom or anything. She's at home recovering and really anxious most of the time. And I just go to work, come back home. So I just wanted to get out of that pattern.
Okay. And how much were you earning working as a waitress every single month?
When I worked full time, I would earn about like 1,000 to £200. Part time, when I went into part time, it was more like 1,000 a month.
Okay, so you're working as a waitress, you're earning around, £1,200. Were you studying at the time?
I don't have a good history of education because of how my performance in school, college, it was not the best. I've had teachers wanting me to be out of college. I even had a teacher say to me that, why are you here? Why don't you just go get a job? And I'll never forget that line. It's like reality really hits you where some people just don't treat you the best and they really doubt you, and it just kind of makes you want to prove them wrong. I wasn't really sure what I wanted in life. Like, academically, I wasn't. That's when I realized that I'm not really gonna get anywhere. Like, and I've been watching you guys as well at the same time. I've never had the courage to start Airbnb because I had no money. I don't know where to start. It has the educational background.
What made you want to join our program?
What made me want to join the program was seeing two young entrepreneurs succeeding, and that really, it was an eye opener for me. Seeing you guys do it, especially as ethnic girls. I think when I started watching you guys, I was about 19, 20, and that's when I realized if they can do it, then I can do it. That's what was inspiring to me because as a woman, you don't really see other girls doing the same thing. It's just most of the time it's men. My dream is to be financially stable, build my dream life. So seeing you guys do that really inspired me.
I've noticed, Rose, that you're saying a lot that you really want that financial stability. That's kind of what pushed you to move away from being a waitress or even move away from becoming a doctor or, lawyer. Why is financial stability so important for you?
I didn't want to blend in with having the average life. Also, facing a lot of difficulties growing up, I realized that I'm not going to be happy living an average life because I want bigger things and I want to be the bigger version of myself. And I'm not gonna reach that version of myself if I stick to just having a normal job. Like, that's my biggest fear. Like, having a 9 to 5 job and then working until you retire. Like, that's just not for me. And also, growing up, it was an eye opener because there was situations where me, my mum were like homeless. The rent price increased and the landlord wanted to kick us out. He was like, if you're not paying the new rent price that is increased, then I have to be kicked out. And also the worst part was seeing my mum struggle as a single mum. What made it even worse is I had a job at that time. And while we were living in a temporary accommodation, we were in there for 1 year. We were waiting on the council to get us a new house because we didn't have our own home anymore. We were just living in a temporary place. I struggle with some aspects of things like I tend to forget a lot, and I've been diagnosed with ADHD. They were just not really understanding about it. So they just told me, look, we don't want you to work with us anymore. That's when I realized that life can really hit you hard. Like, that's when I realized this is not what I want long term. I need to do something and get out of this. It's just terrifying, like having a job and they can just decide to, get rid of you. Like, you're so replaceable. I have really big goals and I wanted to reach that version of myself and get out of my reality of hell. Like,
I didn't know you got laid off your job, right? So was that your waitressing job?
it was waitressing. I've been waitressing for 6 years of my life. I've been doing it since I was 15. I've always worked full time, even little part-time jobs there and there. I knew that you need money to survive.
Originally, you thought that, growing up, you didn't come from the best background. It's just you and your mom. So your first instinct was to go get a job. You're realizing that getting a job doesn't give you full security because they could lay you off any day. What was the situation then when they kind of laid you off? Were you no longer getting paid, or did they at least give you a big payment out?
No, I just got paid my last wage for the days I've worked. It was really cold. Like, it just kind of made me think, how can you get rid of an employee? Also, with the situation I was in where I had nothing, it just made me realize some people just don't care about, like, that's just a reality. No job is going to give you stability unless you build something on your own. I would rather wake up early, work hard just for myself and not have anyone tell me what to do or disrespect me. That's the biggest thing I faced working in 9 to 5 job. A lot of disrespect.
I want to go into, how you managed to get your first property. Like, what was that process like? Speaking to landlords, what was that like for you?
Pretty terrifying at first, but when I watch your videos, it really helps because I remember you saying how you got rejected so many times, but seeing you not give up and keep going. I don't handle rejection very well, so it was a lot harder for me to do the phone call, but seeing your videos has really helped me realize that I shouldn't just, give up and sit there or feel sorry for myself. I need to keep pushing. Like, even I kept going, even when my voice was a little bit shaky. Eventually, I've had this landlord, he wanted to give me his property in Blackpool.
In terms of how much that property is currently making you, what does that look like every single month?
The revenue is from 3,000 to a little bit over. The rent is 1,650 for a two-bedroom. I try to cut down on bills as much as I can. At £250, I would say, for bills. That's council tax and everything included. The cleaning is not really a lot. altogether after that, I make about £1,800 profit.
Okay, amazing. And in terms of when you onboarded the property, what was the setting up process like?
It wasn't too bad. Furnishing wasn't up to standard. It was furnished and negotiated free storage. The landlord was willing to store all of the old furnishing. I didn't have to pay for anything. I've ordered brand new furnitures. They gave me 1 week grace period, so I tried to get as much as I could get done. It was also zero deposit, so I didn't have to pay down a lot of money at once.
What would you say the most challenging part was for you when it came to trying to find your first property?
Talking on the phone. It's just really tiring to like do so many phone calls and getting a no after a no.
How much did it cost to actually refurnish the property?
I would say about £2,000. I try to do it as cheap as possible with, really good furnishing. You can definitely get it for maybe even under, but I wanted to go premium because I remember in one of your videos you've mentioned that you can charge a higher nightly rate if you can go as premium as you can, add luxury touches, amenities. I remember for Christmas period, this family of four wanted to celebrate Christmas at the property and they paid me £980 just for 4 nights. I also had a group of five pay me £781 just 2 nights. Seeing that has made me realize that some people are actually willing to pay a lot of money.
You mentioned you're making £1,800 in profit every single month. How long did it take for you to recoup your full investment back?
I would say about 4 to 5 months. So from August, that's when I started to make over 1,000, and that was all my money. It was all pure profit.
Okay, so it took you 5 months to recoup your full investment. Amazing to hear because the average business takes you 5 years to recoup your full investment back. That's why starting a business like Airbnb is so good for beginners. And then you can literally make your full investment back within less than a year or even 5 to 6 months in your case. That's great to hear, Rose. And in terms of that £1,800 in profit, I also noticed that that's a lot more than what you were previously making as a waiter.
Yeah. For example, last year when I was working there, the lowest it would make me was 900 a month. Even like tips. When you get tips, they don't give you as much tips because it has to be shared between everyone. So I wouldn't be making that much money. Even though I have my first property, it has allowed me to not work full time anymore. Eventually, when I get my second to third property, I will completely leave working for other people and work for myself completely.
Okay, that sounds great, Rose, to see how you were previously working long hours in your job, right? They laid you off, and now you're working less hours, but you're making more money from Airbnb. I want to ask you then, how did you find the process of learning and implementing what we taught you in the program?
Mostly it would be how to upgrade your Airbnb to reach its full potential, where you can charge, a higher nightly rate. What was more helpful for me was when I've learned that instead of having multiple average Airbnbs, it's nice to have a few premium Airbnbs where it makes you a lot more money, which is the same amount as having 10 average Airbnbs. I think that part was the most helpful for me.
You mentioned that you found that part the most helpful. Is there anything that, let's say, you found challenging when starting this business? Because it's not easy starting a business, right? Especially as a beginner, someone having zero knowledge, zero prior experience. So what was that like? Because you're coming from a background where, you've got a single mother, it's only you and your mother. What was that shift like?
I was like, "Oh my god, like, this is actually for real." Like, I had no money in my bank account, like, that was everything, and every day I woke up, there was mornings and nights where I'd cry because I was like, "Oh my god, what did I do? I hope this goes well because if it doesn't go well, like, what am I actually gonna do?" That was when I have realized that that is the stage where most people will enter, and that's when they're gonna wanna give up. I was such a different person at that time. Like, it really just transformed you. And now I have so much hunger in me to keep going and have more challenges because this version I am today compared to the version I was before, I was not confident. That's why so many people choose just having a regular job because a lot of people will not want to go through all that stress. But at the end, it's so worth it and it's such a big relief.
Thank you for sharing that, Rose. It really is true with everything that you're saying, right? You know, most people, they want to stay in their comfort zones because doing the unknown feels so weird to do, right? It feels dangerous, it feels risky. But ultimately what's on the other side of that is all your dreams, all your goals, all the things that you would never have imagined. What would you say to someone that is on the fence of joining the program?
100% go for it because it really does transform your life. The way you see things really does change, especially seeing two young entrepreneurs building their dream and then showing you the tips and tricks to how to successfully get a property, building wealth. It is really life changing and not to be defeated by not having confidence because at the end it's gonna be really worth it.
Rose, thank you so much for coming on this interview. I really appreciate your time, and I hope this has inspired you to really see what does happen when you do take that leap. Any last words from you, Rose?
Don't just sit there and think, oh, what if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? Like, once you do go through the hardest part of your life, like, it's gonna be so stressful, it's gonna be hard, but at the end, it's so worth it.